Hey everyone, Kevbo here, back with another adventure. Thanks for stopping by. I'm actually recording this introduction after the fact. This is for a trip that my friend Mike and I took at the end of August to the Charles Deam Wilderness. The Charles Deam Wilderness is a wilderness area inside of the Hoosier National Forest, which is in southern Indiana. It's kind of southwest of Indianapolis, southeast of Bloomington. For this trip, we left Chicago on a Friday at about noon and returned the following Sunday. So we had 3 days and 2 nights out there. This is going to be kind of a quick video for a couple reasons. First, the weather didn't really allow for it. It was incredibly hot and, as you'll see, and super humid. When we weren't driven into our tents because of the rain, we mostly just tried to stay cool, which was very difficult. And second, I record all this footage with my phone, which was also my GPS, so I had issues with keeping the battery charged on it. Also, this is before I had my GoPro, which is what I'm recording this on. Anyway, our agenda was to hike out onto a peninsula on Lake Monroe. Knowing that we were going to get in relatively late on that Friday, we decided to aim for one of the established sites right on the water, so that it would be a short hike in. As you'll see, things didn't really go as planned. Anyway, here's the trip. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. My loadout for this trip was pretty heavy at about 55 pounds, which was way more than I needed. That was including consumables like food, fuel, water. But we wanted to be comfortable, so I brought things that I normally wouldn't bring on a backpacking trip, like my hammock and that kind of stuff. It took us quite a while to get through Chicago traffic and down to the Hoosier National Forest, so it was about 6:30 by the time we pulled into the parking lot and were ready to set out. As I mentioned, our goal was to hike out on the Peninsula Trail. Um, and for the first night, we were going to go about halfway down this trail and kind of camp on the water on the southeast side of the peninsula, knowing that it was going to be a short hike and that we were getting in late. After setting off from the trailhead, we headed in towards a site that was marked on the map, the official map, as site number 14. This is right on the water on the southeast point of the peninsula. After a few miles, we found what we thought was a side trail that would take us to that site. At this point, the sun had set, and using just my GPS, we started bushwhacking at night in the dark. Using just our headlamps, we're not able to find a way over to Site 14, and we decide to head to Site 15. Using the GPS, we decided just to hack our way through the brush. And with the temperature, even after the sun had gone down, it wasn't long before we were completely soaked in sweat and covered in cobwebs. For over an hour, we pushed through the woods and headed towards the shore, hoping that we could get down there and then find a way to move over to Site 15. Frustrated and exhausted, we finally emerged by the water. Unfortunately for us, Site 15 was not where the topographic map or the GPS said it should be. So we pushed through until we found a first piece of flat land and then set up camp for the night. While foraging for firewood, Mike found the actual Site 15, no more than 25 yards away from us in the dark. Um, for the next few hours, we just sat around, we made our food, and caught up on life. The next morning, not long after we crawled out of our tents and started to think about having breakfast, it started to rain. It started coming down pretty heavy, and so we both ran to our tents. When the rain finally stopped, we picked up our tents and moved over to the established site right next door. In the humidity, we tried in vain to dry out our gear. During the day, we hiked back up the 200-foot ridgeline to find the trail. Before long, we found that there was no trail coming down to either of these sites. It was only then that we realized that the sites that we were at were meant for kayakers and not hikers. Our original plan was to pack up and head further out onto the peninsula to stay the second night. Um, with the heat and the exhaustion from hiking up the ridgeline and back down, we decided just to stay at Site 15 and try to keep cool. The next morning, after sunrise, we packed up and began our long uphill trek back to the ridgeline. For the better part of an hour, we scrambled up the ridgeline with our heavy packs on. Once we reached the ridgeline, of course, we still had several miles to go, all of it uphill. By noon, we finally reached the car and were able to begin our 4.5 hour trip home.